You know that feeling. You've finished your card and it's time to add the embellishments. But what kind? What size? And most importantly, where do they go? Don't worry, I'm here to help. Let's jump right in. I looked it up. An embellishment is a decorative detail or feature added to something to make it more attractive. Well, okay, on that basis, I would say we don't need them at all. Our cards are already pretty attractive. And that's a great place to start the embellishment checklist. Do you even need to add embellishments? Or maybe I should say, since we know your card is attractive, do you want to add them? There are times when you may not want them. Maybe you're worried about what will happen to them in the mail. Maybe your mail service doesn't accept bumpy cards. Maybe it's a masculine design and you don't think the recipient wants a lot of sparkle. Maybe you don't have any that work with your design. There's lots of alternatives, especially if you want a little sparkle with no bumps or added bulk. My favorite is the Ulta Iridescent Shimmer Spray. I should say that I haven't really tested out a lot of others, so others may work just as well. Not only does this add some shimmer, it also softens any ink colors you have on the cardstock, and it gives the cardstock an almost velvety finish. It's relatively inexpensive, and a bottle of it will cover a lot of card panels. I love it. I put it on practically every card I make. Another no bulk added embellishment is splatter. I love to add metallic gold watercolor splatter, but you can use other colors too. White is especially pretty for snow or stars in a night sky, and colors that match your card design work well too. You can use your dye inks and a little water with a paintbrush, or if you have sprays, you can just tap the nozzle over your card to get some random looking splatters. And if you're nervous about actually splattering, or you don't like the mess, grab a confetti type stencil and blend your ink through, or blend a metallic paste through for a shinier look. And if stenciling can be an embellishment, why not stamping or die cutting? We'll be looking at those in a minute. Another option is glitter or some glitter glue like stickles. I have loved stickles right from the beginning of my card making career, especially the clear ones. They add a nice little touch of sparkle without the massive loose glitter. Now, assuming you do want to add some embellishments, I would say there's a few questions to ask. First, what kind? You've got your standard gems, pearls, sequins, enamel dots. Some have sticky backs already, which makes them great for quick cards. But you don't have to be limited by these types of physical embellishments. You can use stamping to create embellishments. This is a great way to use your small stamps like stars or dots. If you want a metallic look, you can heat emboss these small stamps to add some shine and sparkle. You can also use small die cuts like hearts or stars. You already know that I love to also use dies like these ones to cut little dots from specialty cardstock to have on hand. I've talked about these dies before. Signature polka dots from a Jillian Vance design. This one gives you lots of uniform little dots. They almost look like nail heads or brads. Remember those? I think these work well for any masculine cards you want to embellish, especially if you use kind of matte or satin cardstock. Gina K's Lots of Dots gives you, well, lots of dots in multiple sizes, which I'll talk more about in a minute. And you can use even larger die cuts like I did here. Or you can combine them. Adding small gems onto a die cut or a stamped embellishment is the best of both worlds. And I've even been known to use a gem on top of a sequin, especially in a situation where the gem might get lost in the busy background of the card. You can also mix and match. There's nothing saying you're limited to one type. I've even used offcuts of letter centers to create a little flower. One type of embellishments I can't really speak about is the drops, like pops of color or nouveau drops. These are inexpensive and they come in lots of colors, and they allow you to create different sizes, all of which makes them seem very appealing. I just don't have any for some reason. Oh, you could use glossy accents or nouveau crystal drops to create clear droplets too. The next question is what color? I love having lots of different colors, but I would say the basics for me are clear or iridescent, silver, gold, maybe white and black, and probably red, especially around Christmas time. Clear gems and white pearls can be colored with alcohol inks or Copic markers for a more custom look. Again, there's no rule saying you have to use only one color on a card, so whether you want to add a rainbow or just a couple of colors to add more interest, don't feel limited. And you've heard me talk about the Crafty Meraki Illusion gems. These ones flash more than one color depending on the way the light hits them, and that makes them pretty special. They also have a whole range of sizes in the one pack, which leads me to my next question. What size to use? I love having a range of sizes available, especially if I'm using one type of embellishment on my card. If I'm trying to create random looking arrangements, I think they look better with a mix of sizes. Ideally, I would have 3 sizes, I would make a triangle, and I usually like to have the largest or heaviest looking one at the bottom, with the smaller ones above. I do this if I'm using stamped or die-cut embellishments as well. Here's a card where I just trimmed down the die-cut embellishment with my scissors to give me a different look and add some visual balance. Next, how many of them? We all know the rule of 3, how odd numbers just look better to our eyes. So having groups of 3 embellishments is good, and having 3 groupings of embellishments is good. But we also know that rules were made to be broken, and I think the card itself can often help us with this. And that brings us to the final question. Where do you put them? Everyone will have their own thoughts on this, but here's my best tips for embellishment placement. The first is to have a go-to layout of embellishments. My go-to is to have 3 different sizes below my sentiment and 2 above. This gives me 2 groupings and a total of an odd number of sequins that I quite like. Sometimes I only do 2 below and 1 above, depending on the space I've got, but the idea is the same. Knowing that I can fall back on this go-to idea helps me save time, and I can still play with mixing up the colors and types of embellishments if I want to. This arrangement draws the recipient's eye to the sentiment. Number 2, you can work with the patterns already on your card. If you have a grid or some other pattern, there may be very obvious places to put your embellishments. This makes things really easy. Number 4, do something unexpected. This is mostly talking about mixing and matching, which I sometimes forget to do, but it can be really fun, and it's certainly not something we see very often. Sometimes I just like to add 3 little embellishments in a corner, or on the side of a round focal point. Another unexpected way to use embellishments is to make them the focal point of the card. Move them from the support function into a storing role and really wow someone. Number 5, cover your smudges. We all know that sometimes the starting point for embellishment placement is the smudges, and that's okay. Try to keep to the rest of the guidelines. Start with your smudge cover-up, form a triangle, or a little grouping. Number 6 is to use them as your lost dots, another classic use for embellishments. I have often used a gem or a pearl to avoid having to recut the dot of some of my die-cut words, but I also keep a pocket with my leftover dot die cuts that I can use for this purpose as well. Number 7, just have fun. Honestly, this is one of those topics I think we think a lot more about than the recipients do. What they care about is not what's on the card, but what's inside, your thoughts and love. Don't forget to use the link below to get the free embellishment guide, my little Christmas gift to you. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.